agents really need to hear this now, and a lot of agents are really struggling. So we got some of the top experts in the industry on telesales and different stuff offering advice and tips during this time with the coronavirus. And so we know a lot of you agents have been affected. In fact, the whole world's been affected by this. And so a lot of things are changing. Everything's in flux, new news every day. I know it's quite all over everything. So, and a lot of people are staying home. So on face-to-face, that's getting a little tougher, especially if you're working a senior market. It's dangerous for them to be meeting with people right now. And so now is the great time. People are at home, people are answering calls. Don't be, predatory about it or anything, but they are thinking about life insurance. They're thinking about their health. They are sitting at home and have some time. And now's the time to reach out and talk with them, start conversation. We have a bunch of free resources for you guys on the site. Just go register there and you'll get access to a whole bunch of different free things. So go ahead and take advantage of those. We've managed to curate and also create ourselves a bunch of different stuff for you guys. I don't know if you've heard of My Telemedicine, but it's a virtual telemedicine company that we have agents in the group participating in, and they actually now are doing coronavirus assessments through that as well. It's super affordable, and you can sign up for an affiliate for free. Offer people that are at home that going to the doctor is a high risk for them, and it's very affordable, and they get unlimited 24/7 access to book doctor's appointments and different stuff through there. But they can also be assessed for the coronavirus while at home without having to go to the doctor, which is huge for people right now, especially the elderly community. We got Rob. He's here.
How's it going, man?
Hey, man. Long time since I've had you on a video, man. I'm excited to have you here talking today. I know you've got some thoughts and opinions. You're kind of in one of the epicenters, maybe not specific like your location, but very close to you with New York City. And so, yeah, I'd love to hear your, maybe a brief intro on who you are for those that don't know you. And then I'd love to hear thoughts and opinions going on right now.
Cool. So, yeah, I started selling all over the phone in 2003, insurance. When I first got licensed, I never did anything face-to-face. Came from selling vacuums door to door, and then transitioned to telesales. And I became a sales trainer because I had the highest retention of any call center in the country. So Humana, Golden Rule, Assurant at the time started to recommend me. So I left sales and became a sales strategist, trainer, speaker, author, etc. It's been a cool journey. It was never my decision. It kind of took off, and I followed it. So it's like that funny saying, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. These were not my plans, but it worked out great because I realized I can help agents help more clients. So my impact became so much greater from being able to sell. And I read a great quote that says, those who can do more teach. And I think a lot of people who are teachers kind of get, I guess, not enough credit, especially in schools and whatever. We get attacked a lot, we get shredded, especially sales trainers. People think you can't sell, but I was a top producer. I have proof of that if anyone needs to see it. And my stuff rocks, basically because it's been a long journey. I've been doing sales over 3 decades. So it's all cumulatively come together to allow me to be an expert at what I do, which is important because statistics say from, I think it's called Caliper Corp, 55% of salespeople aren't qualified to do their job. So if that's you, you want to get qualified before or be able to do your job before you jump into telesales. And it's interesting. I've been telling agents for about 14 years, switch to phone sales. And, they say the best time, well, it's a Chinese proverb, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. Next best time is today. So I'm glad many people are interested in doing this because you will sell more in a shorter amount of time, less wear and tear on your vehicle and, just time consumption. And everything over the last decade, if not a little bit longer, has been trending to getting people to purchase online, right? 15 minutes will save you 15% of Geico. Just go to geico.com. That is a fact. So more and more people are seeking out, at least researching insurance options online, and are probably more, well, I should say are factually more likely to engage in the conversation if you know what you're doing. And that's what it comes down to. And I always talk to a lot of face-to-face agents. They're like, yeah, but I know what I'm doing. I can read their body language. I know my scripting. I'm like, great. So you don't have to learn a script over the phone. You already know it, right? You know what you're doing. You can read vocal language instead of body language. I say this all the time. Like, David, if you called me, I could tell in an instant if something's wrong by the tone of your voice, right? And I'd be like, dude, are you okay? Same thing on the phone. You can tell if a customer suddenly kind of doesn't get what you're saying, or if they're a little insulted by something you might say, because there's a lot of terrible scripting out there. Yeah, it is. It's like condescending, argumentative. It's terrible, because we're here to serve people, and in return for great service, we get paid, and it's a mutual win-win situation. Like a sale is a mutual exchange of value. That's how I look at it. So the more you serve, the more you sell, the more money you make. So my nickname was the one-call closer. So yeah, it's kind of.
I did know that. I sent you up.
Oh, you did? Oh, yeah, you dirtbag. Okay, yeah. In an agency, people are like, dude, how do you close so much on one call? It's funny because I'm working on a full-blown 8-component training beta test right now of sales training, and one of the sessions is one-call closing, the mindset behind it. There's no magic wand, but there's absolutely an effective process and a mindset behind one-call closing. Basically, if you properly serve and educate the customer, doesn't matter if it's face-to-face or over the phone, you can one-call close. How many agents can sit there and one-call close in person? And here's the key factor. The difference between you one-call closing face-to-face and over the phone is probably your level of confidence in being able to do it. So you can absolutely, especially insurance, because I sold health insurance, Medicare subs, and life, and I've one-call closed all over the phone. Less life, and it was a bit different then because we were tacking the kind of like pseudo life onto health policies. I didn't sell straight up life because there are obviously what someone else discussed earlier today was there are strict restrictions when you're doing that. But we sold turning 65 lists, telemarketed leads, internet leads. Like every lead we had the ability to close because we had a great sales process in place and skilled agents. So I always say the quality of a lead source is in direct relation to the quality of the level of sales skills an agent has. Meaning, if you really don't have a level of sales skills and training, and of course, I'm a trainer, so I've witnessed so many agencies that are kind of successful almost in spite of themselves, because people will say, yeah, that sounds great, I'll take it. Now, that doesn't happen as often as we like. I mean, you got to be like a master Jedi salesperson, but as I mentioned earlier, 55% aren't qualified to do that. So what do? You have to be great at what you do. You have to be an expert. You have to build value. You have to engage the client all on the phone. And I'm going to get into a couple of things about what to say, what not to say, but then, and a couple of reasons why you do need a script. And I'm glad that, what's his name? Waylon, the last guy? I'm glad that you need a script. And you guys are both right. You shouldn't sound like a robot, but there's a way that you don't have to. I'm going to get to that as well. But yes, you can one-call close over the phone. And it's and not lose retention. That's the important thing. Well, I'm not talking about churning and burning and being like authoritative or in a bad way, or like pressuring people, because that has nothing to do with it. You can simply allow them to make an informed buying decision if you have done your process correctly. It's like people are home, right? They're on Facebook too much. They're watching Netflix and binge watching Lucifer or whatever it is, right? But this opportunity is no different than when I used to urge agents and salespeople in general to work on Saturdays, holidays, because you are more likely to have a contact rate, a higher contact rate. People are sitting home, they're going to answer their phone, they're bored out of their skull. They may as well talk to you. However, the other problem I see is that people in sales want to pitch everyone. Anyone who'll listen and pick up the phone, they're going to go through a pitch. Not everyone is qualified to be your client, right? Not everyone is the right person for you to offer and sell insurance to. So part of the telesales game is qualifying. Like I know Waylon mentioned about the mailers being sent out. Right, that's a qualified, interested party. You may be calling on people who aren't necessarily as qualified. So you have to make sure that they are someone, in fact, that you can pitch. Instead of churning and burning through 100 calls and wasting your time, you want to be more efficient and effective. By making sure you do know that the person you're talking to is someone who could potentially buy. Unfortunately, a lot of people front load questions like, so are you do you have an active checking account? They say like some of the craziest things up front. Like, here's one of my least favorites. Did I catch you at a bad time? A lot of people will defend that, but it's one of the worst things you could say statistically. Gong.io did a survey, and I have the numbers here. It reduced your call connection or call engagement rate by 40% by saying, did I catch you at a bad time? Because my answer is going to be, yeah, you know what, you did. Thanks for reminding me, click, right? Most people think it's an interruption, but it's not. So one of the better things you can say, believe it or not, and I've had arguments with people about this, I always tell people, I always say, hey, this is Rob Liano. I've been assigned to be the agent for your health insurance. How are you? And I've had agents tell me, dude, why would you ask how they are? I'm like, for a couple of reasons. A, it works, right? It engages the client. It also makes them answer me. And when you start with questions, you can now control the entire conversation with questions. And here's why. We as human beings are inherently trained to respond to a question. I got on, I'm like, dude, how are you? You say, oh, I'm great, man. How are you? I'm fine. Now, I always tell people, if your spouse is pissed off at you and giving you a silent treatment, you're on your own. But when you're talking to a client, if you start and continue with questions, you will control the whole conversation. So statistically, the same study that said, did I catch you at a bad time, said that if you do ask, how are you, your engagement and closing rate goes up 3.4 times just by saying, how are you? Here's the weird kicker. If you say, how have you been, it goes up 6.6 times. So how have you been is an interrupter. It's a pattern interrupt, because they may think, have we spoken before? Do I know you? It's a kind of very tactful way to just break the ice, get them in a different mindset. So they say, well, I've been all right. Hey, I don't have coronavirus. It's all good, right? Whatever it is. And then you move on in your questions and scripting that, yes, you must have. And can I get into why you should use a script every single phone call?
Absolutely. Please
Cool.
do.
All right, cool. So A, you're going to always be more consistent on every call instead of winging it, because winging it obviously is never going to accomplish what you want to accomplish it. And it's funny because I've had people argue this too. You shouldn't use a script. And I would say, okay, so someone's just starting out. What should they do? And they don't have a response. Well, you have to ask questions. I'm like, okay, which questions? And they're like, well, and I tell them, listen, you're using a script, but you've been doing this so long, you have it memorized. So don't act like you're not doing a similar or the same, structure to every phone call, because there is a design to the most effective sales presentation, and scripting is a big part of that. So A, you're going to be more consistent, right? You're also going to be more effective because you have a defined process that you can keep tweaking and refining so that it works more than it doesn't with a qualified client. The other thing is it prevents objections. And I'll give you one example. When I was selling health, I would always say to the person I was talking to who was engaged, and we get into questions, I'd say, so is this just for you, or is there a spouse and family involved? And the minute they said, oh, no, it's for me and my wife, I would say, oh, so you're the one taking on the headache of getting the health insurance? And they say, yeah, because they're the one responsible. I just eliminated the I need to talk to my spouse objection, even though on occasion they might still say it, but I have now prepared myself to head that off at the pass. And obviously, that's over the phone, so you don't have to worry. You don't have to be sitting with the husband and wife or the family. So things of that nature, when you do have a properly designed script, it allows you to do exactly that. Also, it improves your lead generation because you are qualifying and not just spending 40 minutes talking to everyone and then realizing only one of them was able to buy or qualified to buy. Next thing is you sound so much more professional, because you can't say and expect the client to think that you're a rock star and they're going to feel comfortable and trust you enough to make a purchase. Number 6, I'm glad I wrote some notes. It decreases your call reluctancy. People are afraid to get on the phone, but that's because you're not confident with your process and what you're going to say and how you're going to respond and how you're going to handle if they do say, hey, sounds great, can you send me information? These are all things that if you knew how to do it, you would not have that fear. So having a script gives you this little, what I call a yellow brick road leads to the wizard behind the curtain. And it's the roadmap to get to where you want to go. So that's another reason script is important. Last one I'll say is you're frustrated less, because you're going to have quality conversations and you're going to extract the right information. In fact, statistics say you will more likely sell if you hit on 3 or 4 pain points, not 1 or 2, not 5 or 6, but specifically 3 or 4 pain points that you can help them solve, and you will close more sales. And you can only do that by asking a thorough question-based needs analysis up front, right? So again, let's talk about the robot thing. If you don't like the script, you shut off the movie, right? So if you sound like you're sitting there reading a script and you know what that's like, you will sound like a robot, and you'll take the human aspect out of it. And it's funny, I have heard agents when they're first, starting out trying to go through a script, they will be so focused on like their finger on the words that they will not even be listening to the client, to where a client will say, yeah, well, I haven't had insurance because of my job. And then the agent will say, oh, and how come you don't have insurance? And they just asked that. So yeah, you can't be a robot, and you have to feel natural. But how do you feel natural? Well, repetition breeds confidence, and you need to practice it. You need to role play it. You need to record yourself. You need to listen to it, revise it, and then test it, and then probably tweak it even further. It's a bit of a process. Like, a lot of people get into this, think, okay, great, I'm just going to be awesome at the phone. I'm going to sell because I want to. I think I'll be good at it. No, it's not that easy. If it was that easy, the failure rate wouldn't be so high. Unfortunately, as I've mentioned before in conversations, you're misled a little bit into thinking this is the greatest opportunity and everyone's going to buy from you, and all you have to do is buy leads and buy this autoresponder and do this and you'll be successful. It's not true. And you were probably promised training and you never got training. And that's where the revolving door of sales starts, and people quit. And it's like the scene out of Glenn Ross, where he's going, oh, sales, it's a tough racket. Yeah, because no one teaches you, and it's such a disservice to people who actually care enough and want to sell and help other people when their motive is good, and it gets destroyed. And I hate that. And that's why I became a trainer, because I want to teach people how to sell. And eventually I'll get to the point where hopefully I could just release everything for free when I'm I have my island in Maui. We'll do that. But for the time being, yeah, I charge for training. It's all good. But it's an improvement in what a lot of people are doing. So the only reason I've seen failure is when people don't apply in everything in life. There's two reasons. One, you don't know what to do. Two, you know what to do and you're not doing it. So eliminate those, because we have everything out there. There's sales training videos that are great. I've seen on YouTube, like Anthony Iannaro. I can't remember this other guy's name, but there's like Jeffrey Gatomer stuff, still good. Brian Tracy, who I got to co-author a book with. There's a ton of stuff out there. I mean, put an hour a day into just getting better. Even if you just read up on all telesales, that's what it takes to really become better at what you're doing. It doesn't have to be this extravagant thing, and it doesn't have to be intimidating. But if you position yourself to be better, you will, and that's what'll happen, and you'll be more successful, and you'll help more people, which is great, because there's terrible agents out there that we have to be better than. That's how I look at it. And then they'll buy from you even more. So one of the things I already mentioned is absolutely your level of confidence. Just so you could, because one of my own quotes, meaning it's a Rob Liano quote, is whatever you attempt, if your attitude sucks, so will you, right? So if you go in thinking, and I think someone mentioned like the whole attitude thing, if you go in thinking, oh man, it's gonna be tough, I'm not gonna sell as much. Yeah, you're right. It's the law of attraction. You are manifesting that belief into it becoming reality, right? So this has been going on. It's nothing new. It's nothing to be afraid of. It's just, maybe you need to figure out what it is you are lacking that will make you feel more confident. You probably, if you sold face to face, you probably know the products really well. You probably know the competition, how to tactfully outsell them. If you are captive, if you're not captive, great. You can offer multiple things. So I would say, assess yourself. The question I always ask is, would you buy from you? If you wouldn't buy from you, that's the problem, right? So you need to figure out why. Is it that you don't know how to handle objections? Is it that you don't know how to ask the right questions? Like, are they currently insured? I mean, there are some obvious ones. Some can go a little deeper. So for me, it would be, what do you think is holding you back? Because if you look at that, like I could say, okay, what's holding me back from, let's say, wearing my glasses in public? Well, because when I first started wearing them in fourth grade, I was picked on, called a nerd, 4 eyes, blah, blah, blah. And I still hate them to this day because I have a really thick, prescription. Now, that's a really stupid example, but if you ask yourself the right questions, just like if you ask clients the right questions, you will get the right answers that will allow you to improve, and you're the best person to do that. So if you can figure out, let's say, what's holding me back? Is it because, well, I'm afraid I've never done it before? Then do it. Like the first time you do it, yeah, you might totally crash and burn. It might be embarrassing. You might burn through a lead you paid for. That's okay, because the second time, it's never going to be as bad. Go sell like rock stars.
Yeah, go sell like rock stars. Thanks, everybody.